And well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody else that is here tonight to join us. My name is Lindsay Valandry, or LV, as you can see. And guess who I have with me again? My good friend Mitch Brisker from Scientology, The Big Lie, which is his book
And
and
YouTube channel.
YouTube channel.
Right,
Please
right.
subscribe. He
Yeah, make sure we sell that book because I can't get enough criticism for selling a book. So
I gotta write a book because I just think it's
yeah, you do. You need to. I'll help you with it.
really
So we're gonna have an online writing session where Lindsay and I are gonna write her book together, and we're just gonna live
that's
stream
the way
it. It
to
would
do it.
be great. Yeah, we should do it. Okay, so look, we've been planning on. We've been talking for a while about doing the stream about one of my favorite subjects, which is the portrayal of drug use and the influence of drugs in popular culture and film. Well, specifically film. Uh, this has always been a kind of a favorite subject of mine. And I want to tell you, my interest in this began in high school when, back in the 60s at Hollywood High, when they used to show us these health films. And these were supposed to indoctrinate us to not want to take drugs. In fact, they did the opposite. And I've cut together a clip. I think you have, is that still loaded or did it? I think,
No, just go ahead and it's in there somewhere in the back and just
yeah,
load it.
hold on. Let me just, I think it got unloaded because I
Oh,
left the stream and
that.
came back. Yeah, there it is. I just loaded it up again.
Okay.
Anyway, I
No,
cut together a 5-minute clip from two films. I think you'll really get a kick out of it. We're going to try to have some fun with a serious subject. We're going to
okay.
try to uncover some sort of shifts in the culture about drug use and the perception of addicts and how we deal with addicts. So, but let's start off with a little 50s, 60s high school health film about why you should not do drugs. Go ahead,
Okay. So this
let it
is from
roll. And
the 50s and 60s. And
yeah,
this
I think this is probably 60s, and
okay.
you can we
They
can
showed
talk
it in
over it.
schools.
Sorry?
They showed it in schools as an
Yeah, these
anti-drug
were
campaign.
showed in these were showed in school. We had health class, which is called health class, and they taught you about venereal disease, and
Oh, good.
they taught you all the things you needed to know, and that they
A
taught you
lot of
not to
good.
use drugs. I don't know if they still have that. Maybe somebody in the chat could tell us what the current scene is, because things were very different when I went to high school. I mean, we had dress codes, and we weren't allowed to shoot heroin in the bathrooms. I don't know
You
why.
weren't?
No, I ended up going to private school where I could do that. So I was
That's
able to
all
turn
that
things
matters.
around.
That's all that
Yeah, but then unfortunately, that led me into Scientology. So it was kind of like not a good decision. The whole heroin in the bathroom thing. I would not do that if I had
probably
another shot.
didn't work out. But you know
No, it
what?
didn't work. We're
It's
here now.
over.
Yeah, we're here now. Okay, so let's roll this. This is a
Let's
lot of
do
fun.
it. All
Yeah,
right,
roll it.
ready? All
Yeah,
right, guys.
we can talk over it. And
I'm gonna
and
be
chat, if you have any questions about this, it's
yeah,
really
tell me to pause it if you have any questions.
Loneliness,
yeah.
fear, misunderstanding, anger, defiance, or just a natural curiosity. These emotions take command as the young mind probes and experiments with life. She is hungry and eager to grow into the cherished dream of adulthood. But that goal is unchanneled. The adult tools which are available symbolize for her the arrival into the grown-up world. A
She looks
dream
like she's
world where
about
dependency
27,
is
doesn't
ended
she?
and loneliness can be conquered. And adding appeal to the situation, the unsupervised adolescent playing the make-believe role of adult easily finds companions to join in the game and perhaps introduce new rules. Narcotics addiction frequently follows a pattern of gradual use of different drugs. Often the introduction comes in the form of a goofball. These are barbiturates. Ones in common use are Seconal, Nembutal, and Luminol.
So stop
These are
it. So
legitimate
Lindsay,
medications when prescribed by a physician
we're
who
like
understands.
we're like in high school and we're taking notes. Okay, Nembutal, okay, check. Seconal, check. We're like, okay, got to get some of that shit because that looks like fun. These kids are partying down. I mean, when I was a kid, it was like nobody was going to live past 30. The older generation just wanted to send everybody to the Vietnam War. It was just like, if they were telling us not to do something, we were going to do it.
Oh my
Okay.
goodness. Well, guess what? I've never heard of any of those 3 drugs, and I'm a drug
Really?
hound. Yes.
Oh,
What were
okay.
they? Nebutol?
Second all is a barbiturate. Nebutol, which we also used to call yellow jackets, is a
Okay, I've
yellow.
heard of that.
Yeah, yellow. And then the other one, I don't know. They just used the word goofball, which
Let
that
me
we.
take the names. Nebutol.
Yeah, second all, and then the other word they used was goofball.
How do I spell the other one? Nebutol, goofball, and
Nembutol. I know how to spell it because when we were kids in high school, we had a copy of the physician's desk reference, so we'd always
so
know
spell
which
it
drugs.
for me.
N as in Nancy, E as in Echo, M as in Motel.
Oh.
Nem, B as in boy.
Yeah.
Nembu as in Ulysses. T as in Texas. L. Okay, Nembutol. Nembutol.
Hi, Don.
Yeah. Okay,
And
let's
then,
go.
okay, so well, yeah, Pete was asking, so he wanted us to
Yeah,
say
Pete's just joking. Pete's joking. He's like, "Hey, I need to take notes."
Pete needs
Pete,
to
Pete,
know.
you have plenty of drugs, so you don't need these.
Well,
Just
we
carry
can't
on.
get these on the streets. Barbiturates, we didn't really get these
No,
days.
we got everything.
When the Quaaludes too, I mean.
Yeah, we had lots of
I missed
Quaaludes.
out. Okay, ready?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Understands their use and potential dangers. Barbiturates are sedatives and hypnotics with depressant effects. To help offset the sedative effect, barbiturates
This
are
sounds like a
sometimes taken in
Scientology video.
conjunction
This
with
is like their anti-drug
amphetamines or
video.
pep-up pills.
Their
such as
anti-drug
Benzedrine
videos
and
are like
Dexedrine.
this lame.
These are opposites.
Wait, hold on.
The
I want to hear
body
what
struggles to maintain. Barbiturates are sometimes taken in conjunction
not high
with
school girls, I'm
amphetamines
sorry.
or pep-up pills, such as Benzedrine and Dexedrine. These are opposites, and the body struggles to maintain a state of normal reactions. Once in the system, barbiturates go to work on the nerve center.
That, by the way, that's what your system
dulling
looks like, in
curtain.
case you ever wonder.
Yeah, what is it supposed to be? Your brain?
Yeah, it's supposed to be like your system. It's just some
Okay.
bad mid-century animation.
Interesting.
But
Okay.
I really want to enforce the point that these films got kids to they convinced us we should take drugs.
It looks glamorous as hell. Look at them. Did you wait? To me, that looks like fun.
Once in the system,
Exactly.
barbiturates go to
Who
work
do you
want
want to be? Do you want to join in,
A
right?
dulling curtain shades reality. Thought becomes slow, confused,
Great
and
picture.
judgment is defective.
That sounds
Emotions are unstable.
good. Perfect.
The
Sounds
drug
like fun.
continues to work deeper into the nerve center. Walking
Great.
lacks normal coordination. Other motor areas are dulled, and activity is confused.
Yes.
Tremors often result. The senses are affected. The eyes oscillate involuntarily, and it becomes difficult to hold a fixed position. If pep-up pills are taken at the same time, opposing forces attack the brain.
Ooh.
Instability increases in both thought and action. Both drugs
Yeah, I
are
didn't realize I
physically
left this
dangerous.
part in. We'll be
The
good.
addict takes a chance so that he can feel high. But he is not high.
Wait, so they were saying pep up pills like uppers and downers taken together. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't catch
Exactly.
that.
He is
Yeah.
confused, for he has drugged and distorted the knowledge and skills that life and time have given him.
This looks like
Escape.
50s to me.
A
This does
flight
not look
from
60s.
reality.
It looks like
She's
Rebel
found
Without
a
a
crutch to
Cause.
see
Like
her
these were the
through her
kids that
difficulties.
auditioned for Rebel Without a Cause, but they didn't get cast. So they
never
ended up in
seen
the. Huh?
I never seen that.
Oh well, that's your assignment. You have to see that. Or we
Okay,
can't
I
be
have a whole
friends,
bunch
so.
I have to see.
Yeah, I'm going to send you a list. Okay.
Found a crutch
Look
to
at
see
your
her
eyes.
through her difficulties,
Yeah.
instead of facing up to them and learning to cope with them. She has made her decision.
He's right about that.
In time, as her problems grow, her need for the crutch will grow. She will search for something different, something better.
He's right.
Yeah, no, he's right. He's not wrong about that.
Bro, did you see that guy?
Jive,
Did you see his body language? He was about to like. Okay.
Well,
marry,
He was just ready, man. He's like, here, take this shit, and then getting close to her, like, no,
no, he was looking like a little pervy. Is that what you
that's
mean?
what I'm saying.
Yeah, he was
like,
looking a little. Yeah, he was looking a little pervy.
yeah, take
Okay,
this,
so
girl. Okay, is this a marijuana plant?
yeah, that
Hot
would be
tea.
yeah.
Technically, it's cannabis sativa.
Ooh.
The common name, marijuana. Though often packed in real tobacco cans, this dangerous drug is easily distinguished from tobacco by its rough texture and greenish color.
We're almost done with
And the
this film,
sticks, joints, or reefers, as the cigarettes are often called, are easily recognized alongside a tobacco cigarette. Marijuana is consumed in its own special way. It is not smoked by accident. Thus, the novice being
So
taught how
basically
to
what
use
the guy
drug
just
by
said-
a pusher
Wait,
has
hold on,
made
let me
her own
what he
decision.
just said was, "We don't smoke itself."
Let me hear that again.
Accident.
We don't smoke
Thus, the
itself.
novice being taught how to use the drug by
It's
a
a joke.
pusher has made her own decision. And another step toward hell is taken.
Yeah.
Like, I want to meet that girl. I want to meet her. Stop it, stop it.
If anyone
Okay, so this is the next film.
Right.
So,
This
like,
is the one.
I'm watching that film, and I'm a high school kid, and like, do I want to meet that girl? Hell yeah. So naturally, I'm going to be leaning towards taking drugs because obviously all the really cool, pretty girls are doing. I mean, they're sending out such a bad message with these films.
had ever told
Okay, check this
me
out.
a few years ago that we would ever read headlines like these in American newspapers, I would have called him crazy. Yet here we are, reading them. In the middle of the 20th century, in the United States of America, hundreds and hundreds of teenage boys and girls are becoming hopeless dope addicts every year. It's fantastic, it's unbelievable, and it's terrible, but it's true. It's hard to believe that this girl is the same as the one in the picture, but it doesn't take long for the drug habit to make anyone over.
They both smoked pot. That's jive talk for marijuana. And after a while, Ann and I got so that we did too. Chuck finally talked me into using heroin. He said it would make him feel better. So I tried it. But I was going to be smart. Just take it or leave it.
In the Far East a few years back, they were lining up dope peddlers and shooting them in the back of the head. But it didn't stop addiction. It just made it harder for victims to get the stuff.
They made that
No.
shit up.
Wait, what did it? What
They
did
made that up. He said a few years ago in Asia, they were lining up dope peddlers and shooting them in the back of the head.
Oh, I thought we were like shooting drugs in their head, and I'm like, oh my god.
No, they were executing them summarily.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus.
So anyway, I brought this up because I'm not trying to.
Hold on.
The answer is a simple one. Just use your head. Leave narcotics absolutely alone. Remember what happened to Phyllis and others like her.
Okay, good.
Nancy
So that's
Grace.
the message to all you kiddies: leave narcotics alone. So my point is, I wanted to start here with the use of the influence of drugs in films, because here we have films that are indoctrinating kids, and essentially they're saying, "Hey, do you see this? These are all the cool kids. This is what all the cool kids are doing, especially the attractive girls." So
Yeah.
you might want to get on this team, even though we're telling you not to. A subliminal message. So okay, moving on from there, we're going to talk about the theatrical films, and we're going to focus on films about addicts, and specifically heroin addicts, because heroin addicts, they're really portrayed differently. You know, Lindsay, you and I were talking about this earlier, that when I was researching this segment, I noticed that all of the portrayals of like cocaine addicts, they're just vile, violent, psychotic people. You know, they're like Al Pacino and Scarface.
And crack too.
Yeah, but then the heroin addicts are all like really sympathetic. They're like, you know, Leonardo DiCaprio playing Jim Carroll in Basketball Diaries. They're like, you know, Al Pacino in Panic in Needle Park. They're like the film that I did, Dusty and Sweets McGee. They're, and that's really changed. Like that. Go ahead.
I want to see that, the one that you did.
Oh, it's on Amazon. You can stream it for like $2.50.
Can
So
you tell me it again? This
yeah,
name?
I'll send you a link. It's called
Okay,
Dusty and Sweets
I got
McGee.
excited.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I'll send you a link.
Okay.
It's
I
the
didn't mean
one
to
it's the one that's in my book. All of you Mitch haters, take a drink. I said book. Go ahead,
book.
everybody, take a drink.
Oh
Promoting
wait,
my book.
we don't drink those, so fuck.
Yeah, no, we don't. But what are you have here? Look, I
Eh,
have lemonade. Okay, with not spiked.
This is what it's like to be sober.
Yeah, yeah.
I like
By
your
the
lemon.
way, the cool kids today, the cool kids,
Honestly,
and all of the attractive girls are sober.
you're damn right they
Yeah,
are.
they're not doing drugs. So I mean, maybe they're smoking a little weed, but it's like,
No, drugs aren't cool anymore, guys.
yeah, they're not cool anymore.
But go on, I'm sorry.
You don't have to apologize. So, and I was really thinking about this sort of distinction, the way like cocaine is a violent drug and heroin is a kind of a sympathetic drug. You feel sorry for people. Um, I'm sorry. Can we just whoops? Oh, I screwed that up. So sorry.
What'd you do?
I just remembered I can't put up comments. Jake Lloyd said, Mitch wrote a book. I'm just learning this for the first time. Stick around, Jake. You're going to learn all kinds of fun stuff.
You can comment on there, shouldn't you?
No, but I can comment, but I can't display them. We'll get that worked out. We'll get
okay.
that worked out. So
Okay,
anyway, but I wanted to talk about some of these movies. So we're going to start in the 70s. And in the 70s, we had a couple of really classic heroin addict films. One was the launching point for Al Pacino's career, which was Panic in Needle Park. Did you ever see it, Lindsay, that film?
No, I saw the beginning of it and then I didn't.
Yeah, it's really good. It's like everybody saw this and knew that Al Pacino was going to be a big star. It was
I heard
really
it was
good.
huge.
Yeah, it's a
Like,
great film. And that was an East Coast film. And then on the West Coast, we had the film I was involved with, Dusty and Sweets McGee, which which was a very different kind of film.
yeah.
It was very LA, very interesting soundtrack. It was kind of like a drug-fueled cinema verite meeting sort of quasi-documentary version of, American Graffiti. It was like American Graffiti with a bunch of junkies. Like literally, it was like that. So I don't get a penny from the movie, by the way. I tried suing them because I was hired to play a character, and then they put my real name on there, and my kids grew up thinking that was me in the movie, and it wasn't. It was very awkward.
Goodness.
But we got it all worked out in the long run. Okay, so now we're going to go to now these were very sympathetic portrayals. Both of these films, Panic in Needle Park and Dusty Suzuki, they came out about the same time, 70s. In the 1980s, the two that I'm going to mention is a film with Matt Dillon called Drugstore Cowboy. And I don't know if anybody's ever seen this film. It was directed by Gus Van Sant, who, the very noted, brilliant director. He did Milk. He did My Own Private Idaho. He's done some very significant films, and he directed this film with Matt Dillon, Drugstore Cowboy. And basically, he fueled his drug addiction by breaking into pharmacies. So hence the name Drugstore Cowboy. But yeah, anyway, this another one. And again, this is a very sympathetic portrayal of somebody that you really care about. Yeah, and if you're at all a Gus Van Sant fan, which I am, definitely see Drugstore Cowboy. And then we also have Scarface. Scarface came out that same decade in the 80s. And I think Scarface was a little bit of a paradigm shift in that all of a sudden we had the mega criminal, like the mega crime film, focused on a drug person, addict, dealer. And this started a trend, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this was all of us. Yeah, this was like, this was a whole different thing. All of a sudden we weren't seeing films like, The Basketball Diaries, or, some of these other very sympathetic films. I don't, if none of you have seen The Basketball Diaries, it's starring a young Leonardo DiCaprio as a high school student. And it's about the musician Jim Carroll, who's a brilliant musician. And when he was in high school in New York, he was on the basketball team and he was addicted to heroin. So
Wow.
it's a really good film. I don't remember who directed it. And then Then we get into the 90s, and this is something that I found out that I really wanted to talk to you about, Lindsay, because
Yeah.
when I was researching this thing, I came across this article by a Harvard law student. It was actually an article done, as part of a, to fulfill a requirement. And it was a really interesting article. And I was unaware that per this article, I don't know, it's really a long paper more than an article, that in the 90s, there was an increase in heroin usage in the United States. And I was always under the impression that during the Vietnam War, that was the biggest, that there was more heroin addicts in the U.S. during the Vietnam War than any other time, because so many service people came back addicted. There was so much heroin in country in the Southeast Asia, what is it called, the Burma Triangle, which where all that China heroin comes from. And then we also had the CIA, who was complicit in helping the opium warlords get their shit out of the country in exchange for running intelligence missions. So you had this. That's something we're going to talk about more later, because that's a
really want to, because I want to talk about that after.
Yeah, it's a fascinating story. I mean, I wrote about it in my book. Hold on, let me just take a drink. I wrote about it in my book.
You're so funny. I love it.
Yeah, I wrote about
Vietnam War is just like what Nick has said, is there's this, that, the big study, the Vietnam study that everybody's heard of, basically.
Yeah.
And it basically showed me that environment has a lot to do with drug addiction than other things like genetics and other things like that.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of these aluminum coffins coming back from Vietnam with the bodies of dead service people, and inside those coffins there were kilos of heroin stuffed inside of a lot of them. Some of them were like freelancers, some guy who's going home and he's never coming back. He's out of the service and he's like mad as hell, and he stuffs what was that worth back then? A kilo of heroin was probably worth $500,000. So, and if you had somebody to help you on the other end, you could just grab your kilo and go to town. And so there was a big trade in it. And I wrote about this, where I wrote a whole thing about how there was a lot of us ended up on heroin, and a lot of us ended up in Vietnam on heroin and being killed in the war. So the war was like, even though I grew up in this privileged area in West Hollywood, it was like part of the war, because the heroin from Vietnam was in my neighborhood. So it was like
heroin ever, wasn't it? Just like Afghanistan, supposedly.
Yeah, I said China. We used to call it China white. It's that white heroin, and we had a lot of Mexican heroin, but all the stuff from Vietnam was all that white Chinese heroin, or Asian, whatever it was. But there's the opium warlords in Vietnam have been there for 1,000 years. They don't give a fuck who's fighting who, right? And so they had free passage in and out of North and South Vietnam. So the CIA would say, well, do some reconnaissance for us, and we'll look the other way. You can get your shit off the aisle, off the country. And then they figured they'd pick it up in the U.S., but they never did. So there was a huge problem. But that's a different story, and we'll get into that sometime. But
wow.
Yeah, somebody mentions Nika K. Stirring mentioned, I'm quite sure you can put that up, because she's right about this. She said, she says, I'm quite sure many of the veterans were using it to anesthetize themselves of the pain they were experiencing with PTSD. Yeah, this is absolutely true. As a matter of fact, there was a research project on Nika right along that same line, which is very famous. Is out of that research project, we have the phrase, the opposite of addiction is connection. That phrase came out of a research project where it was thought that there were going to be so many heroin addicts returning from Vietnam that the VA was going to have this massive problem.
Right.
What happened was a lot of the guys came back, stopped using heroin, just stopped, because they were no longer.
It was a huge amount that stopped. It was like.
Yeah, huge. Like nobody could even predict. And they stopped because they were reconnected with their families and their lives and their culture. Yeah, I have
I
my
do
dog
want
is.
to do. I have that study saved on my computer somewhere. If we could
Yeah,
do
so
it.
this is the one about where they did a thing with the rats, where
Yes,
they.
Rat Spark.
Yeah, and then and then there was a British journalist whose brother was an addict, and he wrote a book about it. He did a TED talk about it, and he's the one that kind of coined the phrase, "The opposite of addiction is connection." But he's not the
Oh,
one. He's
I
not the
should.
one that invented it. Yeah, I can never remember his name. Hey,
It's
you
a.
okay?
No, I'm trying to think of the name
I
and like
know, I know, I know.
thinking very hard. Did you see that? That was
Yeah,
my brain.
yeah.
Just
So yeah, I know when I was right in the middle of draft age for the Vietnam War, and so I spent eight. I mean, I was going to go because
really?
there was a lottery, right? They had a lottery, and what they
Yeah.
did was they'd pull a day 1 through 365, and then they'd match that with your birthday. They'd pull a number and a birthday, and if you were under, I think the number was something like 100, you were going to go, and the primary age was 19. Okay, so when I was 19, I pulled a number 19 in the lottery. So with a number that low, it was like pack your bags. You'd just go into Vietnam.
Whoa.
So what I did was I burned my draft card, and I went down to the draft to the draft, whatever you call it, the induction
Office
center,
for
and I said I'm here for my physical, and I said, oh, by the way, I'm a heroin addict. And they're like, okay, well, you'll have to come back in 6 weeks and show us you're still a heroin addict. And I'm like, no, I want to go to Vietnam. I hear there's this amazing heroin there. And you can just sit up in a tree and shoot people all day and get high. Like, this
they
is where I
say.
want. Yeah. So anyway, 18 months later, they let me. They declared me unfit for military service. And so I was pretty proud of that. But I'll never forget the day that the Army psychiatrist signed off on my discharge, my papers. And he said to me, he said, you should be ashamed of yourself. I have 2 sons that are proudly serving. And I always wondered if his sons didn't survive, if he thought back about me and thought he'd rather have his sons be junkies than dead. I always wondered about that. Like if this
Well, at
guy,
least the chance still to get
yeah,
clean.
or at least like he's thinking about me and like I'm still alive and his sons are dead. Probably not. He was probably very proud of them being an Army psychiatrist. So anyway, let's jump forward to the 90s.
Let's do
And
it.
well, before we do, I just want to say I want to mention another film uh, with Nick Nolte and Tuesday Weld. It's called "Who Will Stop the Rain," named after the Creedence Clearwater song. Now, "Who Will Stop the Rain"? I like this film. I showed it to my former wife. She hated it, which is when I knew the marriage was never going to work. Um, it's about Nick Nolte plays a merchant mariner, and
Mhm.
he gets hooked up with a crooked war correspondent, and the crooked war correspondent wants him to smuggle some heroin, and it's about a crooked DEA guy, a crooked
Jeez.
war correspondent, and death on the railroad tracks on the Mexican border. It's really a good film. It's like a
Yes.
contemporary Western, except it's about heroin instead of money. So I highly recommend that. It was done. I can't think of his name. A very, very noted director. I probably will think of his name. So then, anyway, that's that, and that kind of ties in with the whole CIA thing about so much heroin coming from
Yeah.
Vietnam. So now I want to get back to this thing in the 90s because I had no idea that there was this radical increase. And you and I talked about this. There was a
Yes.
real increase in heroin addiction, and then it got taken over by the opioid crisis.
I was in
Right. And that was in the 90s, right?
no. Well, the end of the
89, 90.
I was born in 88. So
Yeah.
it was the 2000s
Yeah, rub
that
it in. Rub it in.
it was the 2000s that it was, because Florida's where I live and that's where a lot of the pill mills were.
Yeah. Okay. So this makes total sense. Okay. Because here we go. In the 90s, we're getting all of these heroin addicts being added to the rolls, right? And excuse me 1 second. I have to
Oh,
just
you're okay.
my dog is, I can't take myself out here. So here, I'll just be right back. You get to see everything here.
Oh, you're good, dude.
Yeah, just give me 1 second. Weston, you're being kind of a bad boy. Come on in. You can come out. I have somebody coming over to handle the dog, but they're not here yet. So I'll probably have to let him out. So anyway, yeah. So during the 90s, we get all these extra heroin addicts, and we start getting these films, right? Like what happened in the well, these aren't so these that's like 2000. My notes are screwed up.
You're good. We can
Yeah,
Google
I
it.
know. I can Google it.
Google it for us.
Okay. So anyway, and then what happens in 2000 is we get the opioid epidemic, right?
Yeah.
And then eventually that gets supplanted by fentanyl because fentanyl is cheaper than heroin, it's cheaper than opiates, and apparently it has an effect similar to heroin, though.
Oxy's first.
Yeah, I get. Yeah, but that would be during the opioid crisis. So, but there's an interesting thing that happens with the film Traffic. 2000, the year is 2000, and Steve Soderbergh makes that film Traffic, a great film, right? All of a sudden, we see the rise. It's not about addicts anymore. They're not sympathetic films anymore. They're crime films.
Right.
And we see this ascension of the crime film. And then we no longer see these sympathetic portrayals of heroin addicts. We just see cartels and, major conspiracies and
the movie Blow. I watched that movie over 100 times. I loved it.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean,
I just thought of that. Sorry.
Yeah, you like Johnny Depp. That's
not even that. I just thought it was like I cried every time.
It's a good film. I mean, he was both a sympathetic character and a criminal, so it was kind of like, he was kind of like Ray Liotta in Goodfellas. You kind of really liked him, but he was just a scumbag. Yeah. So now everybody's chiming in with the year that they were graduated. That's cool. I'm not even going to play there. I was kicking dinosaurs out of the way on my way to school in the morning.
Oh, stop it!
Yeah, we were competing with Neanderthals.
Can you share this YouTube video on any social media platform? I'm not using a Twitter anymore to share directly to. So if you could just hit the share button and share directly to your Twitter or wherever else, that would be awesome. Or whatever, Facebook. That would be super awesome.
Nice.
Sorry to interrupt you. Because we only have 20 viewers, and I really, really want to spread our message of recovery. Every like helps as well.
Oh, interesting. Hey, Nico Case. Oh, I don't know if it's Casey. This is
I call her. Yeah. Go ahead.
Casey? It's probably Casey, right?
You can call her Nika.
Okay, Nika Casey. Okay, good. Or Nika Case touring. So anyway, she actually found the draft lottery. I would like to look that up. Put the link in there because I remember watching it and pulling a 19, and everybody in the room was like, "Bye, you're going." So.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It was amazing because I came from a relatively privileged area that was pretty white and pretty privileged. I didn't know anybody that went to Vietnam. I didn't know anybody that died in Vietnam.
Wow.
I had a girlfriend in the 70s from Shreveport, Louisiana, and she showed me her high school yearbook, and she went through and she said, that guy, that guy, that guy, that guy, that guy, that guy, that guy. They all went, and then none of them came back. So it really depended, like demographics, poor white, black. It was horrible. And then years later, I reconnected with a girl I'd known since grammar school, high school, and she did let me know that one of our best friends had not been drafted, but he'd volunteered to go, and he didn't come back. So it turns out that I knew somebody, and it was a childhood friend who did volunteer and go, but that happens. So then in the night, and I'm telling you, I cannot think since 2000, since Traffic came out, I cannot think of a really good sympathetic portrayal of drug addiction. They're very exploitative. I mean, there's one, maybe I don't remember the year, the one about Michael Busquet, the artist. There was a film about Busquet. He was a heroin addict. He became a very successful artist. There was one with called Permanent Midnight about a writer. I did not see that one, but these are all, I understand these are pretty different. There's Pulp Fiction, which was But I'm going to tell you my all-time favorite, number one favorite.
Do it. I got the
Trans.
link, by the way. I'm gonna post it.
Okay, the link to which?
The Vietnam War draft. Go ahead. That's what
Okay,
I'm doing.
good. So my all-time favorite heroin portrayal movie is Trainspotting, like without a doubt.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen Trainspotting, I mean, literally, Ewan McGregor was not a known actor at that point. That kind of made him into a star. That film had such good buzz that I took off work. I went to see it at like, an afternoon matinee on a weekday. There was about 10 people in the theater, and it's a mind-blowing film about these British, Irish, Scottish, whatever, heroin addicts, and it's just so unbelievable. And maybe, maybe Sid and Nancy was pretty good, but still, it's what's that?
I never watched that either. I want to watch.
No, you have to watch Sid and Nancy. I mean, that was like that made Gary Oldman exploded as a. I mean, I thought it was Sid Vicious. He played Sid Vicious. That was the beginning of his. Yeah, the beginning of.
I like him.
Yeah, no, he's great. Chloe, I can't think of her last name, who played the female, the blonde female, Sid Vicious's girlfriend. I don't remember what her name was.
She died, right, or something.
I think they're all dead. They're all, they all die at 27. Speaking of which, I saw that Amy Winehouse film last night, the Back in Black.
Yeah,
it's really, huh?
Tell us about that, because I've talked about it.
I'll give you a quick movie review. It's an unbelievable film. It's so beautifully shot and directed. It was shot by a woman. It was directed by a woman. It's about a woman, and so it's kind of like really interesting. I mean, it's incredibly well written. It's not a widescreen film. It's like a standard widescreen, what we call 1.85. It's similar to TV format, 16:9. I'm sure the cinematographer, the director, made that choice on purpose because they didn't want to create a widescreen like, Starman or one of these big rock and roll films, Elvis. They weren't trying to do that. They were trying to make a really kind of an old school, beautiful film. It lets the camera sit there forever and watch the actors. It focuses on dialogue scenes and behavior. And it's just, I was really blown away about it. The only criticism that I have of the film is that, and the actress, I can't think of her name, who plays Amy Winehouse, is unbelievable. I mean, maybe if you're a super Amy Winehouse fan, you will be disappointed with her singing because Amy Winehouse was like, and just let me say, I'm a bigger Amy Winehouse fan than I am a Taylor Swift fan. Okay, because
thank God.
Yeah, because having a penchant for writing addicting breakup ballads as a white privileged whatever, it's just, I'm not all that. I've never been. She's talented, but I've never been a big fan. But Amy Winehouse is just such a special artist. But the thing is, she appears in the film. She shows up at 18. She's, I mean, there's some flashbacks of her as a kid, but she's like hypersexual. She's like experimenting, not with hard drugs, with alcohol and maybe some pot. And I'm thinking, you don't get to be that way without having some abuse in your youth. So I'm thinking, like, they didn't really tell that story, and probably because her dad, whose name is Mitch, unfortunately, who maybe was emotionally abusive, it's weird because, like, her grandmother, she's closer to her grandmother than her parents. That's kind of a thing you might find in an abusive family. So I think because maybe to deal with the family, they had to lay off some of, but there's no way that this incredibly talented, gifted person did not experience some abuse growing up, even some kind of, she was bipolar. She had borderline personality disorder. She hooked up with this guy who was the most toxic partner, who gets her going on hard drugs, and she like beats the crap out of the guy and like crazy stuff. Oh yeah, no, it's crazy stuff. But one of the things, you really get the majesty of her art, and you get her commitment to being an artist blew my mind. If this was at all factual, the she was so willing. She did not play the game with the record companies. They were always trying to kind of like, they were kind of trying to feminize her or sexualize her, put the guitar down so the audience can see you better. And she's like, no, I'm just going to take a break. I'm not here to do any of that. I'm here because I need to connect with people. I need to make music. And it was an incredible portrayal of an artist's commitment to their work.
Back to back.
Beyond anything else. So I highly recommend it. Yeah, I mean, we all know how it's going to end, but it's a great film. I was.
Well, and she died from detoxing off of alcohol, correct?
Yeah, I mean, people have talked about the fact that it was sort of, it was kind of rehab killed her.
Yeah.
Because she was one of these people that, she made it out of hard drug use. She got off, she was smoking crack and heroin and God knows doing coke and stuff. She got off all that. She finally went to rehab on her own. She got off all that and she stayed clean, but she kept drinking. So she started drinking again, and like her blood level was like 5 times legal limit, and she died unfortunately of poisoning. The other criticism I have of the film, one other I have, it's they made a big deal about her really wanting to have children. And like she kept saying to this guy she married, this horrible guy, she really wanted to be a mother. She really wanted to have kids, which is fine. But it made it seem like they had to cast her as what killed her was her failure to fulfill her full feminine role.
Oh,
and
wow.
I felt that was just a little bit. There was a little bit of that in there. And that kind of bugged me. That, just pushing that idea that a woman is going to be less, that their life is destroyed because they want to have children and they can't. And so, but on balance, it's a great film. I'm sure that the girl, what is her name, who played Amy Winehouse, she's got to get nominated. It'd just be tragic if she isn't. Back to Black. So yeah, that's my big movie review for the day.
No, that's cool because I didn't know that she died that way. I thought she died because of. I'd always heard that it was because of she wasn't properly detoxed off of alcohol.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, what they said her name's Marissa Abella, by the way, the girl who played her. She's just spectacular. And what's his name? Eddie Marsden, the British actor, plays her father, and Eddie Marsden is just, to me, he's just like a towering genius. So yeah, it's really a good cast. Everybody in it's perfect. It's beautifully shot. My good friend Rachel Hastings, ex-Scientologist cinematographer who I work with, she is being mentored into the American Society of Cinematographers by Polly Morgan, who shot the film. So that was one of the reasons we ran out to see it, because she really wanted to see it. So that was, Levitt said, didn't she die from alcohol intoxication? Yeah, that's what they said in the film, that she died of alcohol poisoning. So tragic. I mean, she's 27 years old. I mean, she's like, I think when she was 24, I did not know this, but that album, Back to Black, won 5 Grammys, including she had Song of the Year. That's the most of any British female artist ever.
What?
Like, yeah, she has that record to this day. So.
Wow. Oh, I don't know the drama.
Yeah, I've seen him. Wait, who? Seen who? The ex? Maybe that's what she's talking about. But anyway, it's a good film and it's pertinent. Yeah. It's definitely it's a great portrayal of addiction. And again, so as I said earlier, we're not finding films that give these sympathetic portrayals about addicts. Well, this would be an exception, but they have to be about someone famous, right? They can't be, like they did the Starman thing and they showed, what's his name? Overcoming his drug addiction, alcoholism, and it's all that kind of stuff. But we're not seeing these films anymore, like Panic in Needle Park. We're not seeing the sympathetic drug addicts.
The ones that I'm familiar with of like recent years are like, did any of you guys see the movie Perfect High?
No.
I mean, it's 2015 and Bella Thorne was in it. And it's not rated that high. I don't know if it was even like Lifetime or what, but the portrayal of like, it was like my life, like when
Wow.
I was going through with the pills and everything, and they're like in high school or right out of high school. I'm looking at the IMDb right now, and so many.
Yeah, no, she started using painkillers from an accident
Yeah,
in high school. And how common and how typical is that?
that
So
was
many,
happening everywhere.
yeah. And I have a friend from who ended up in Scientology because he was a professional motorcycle racer, and he
Really.
had a horrible accident and ended up on really strong painkillers, and then became an addict, and then sought treatment, unfortunately, from a cult. So that happens. So yeah. So anyway, I think let's see if I have anything else on my notes.
I'm gonna send some other stuff too whenever you're done.
Yeah, no, it's good. We're good.
No, go ahead.
So yeah, that was the deal. I wanted to talk about that. Yeah, so I think one of my least favorite addict films is the Darren Aronofsky film. The fuck was the name of that film?
Dear enough. I don't know who that
Yeah,
is.
I'm not a big fan of his films. Uh, I don't watch them basically. Which one was it? Requiem for a Dream. I don't know if you ever
Oh yeah,
saw
I
that.
never saw that. I see. I don't like.
Yeah, you don't. His films are very dark. I don't like them. I don't
Yeah,
like his style of filmmaking. I kind of avoid his films.
yeah. I don't even know who he is, but I just don't. I wanted
He
to
did
show
the film Black Swan with Natalie
that was
Portman.
a weird one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just they're like crazy. Like he wants you to feel crazy while you watch his film, and
Yeah,
that's
I don't
not
like
my
that shit.
thing.
Uh-uh.
Yeah, Ivermectin said Ivermectin. He said disturbing film. I think he's talking about
Yeah,
yeah,
probably.
yeah, Requiem for a Dream, and it was. It's just disturbing. It's just like, and it's not worth the ride. It's like, I'm okay if the ride
Yes.
is worth it, but it just
Yeah.
wasn't worth it.
Did you guys see the new Murdoch Murders 2-part Lifetime series? It was very good. I hate to say that about a murder thing, but the way that alcoholism and the father's addiction was portrayed was very accurate to
Mm,
what you would imagine. I mean, obviously I don't know them and what happened, but I mean what you would imagine. It gave me chills seeing him, Alec Murdoch, in the car with the bottle of pills and doing this, and then and the child, he wasn't a child anymore. Buster was the older one. I can't remember the other one, but the one that was in the boat accident, and just seeing it. They talked about him. His friends would talk about him and say he was an alter ego, like Timmy. They would call him Timmy when he was blacked out drunk. And that was how I was. And so it was like weird to watch, and just made me think like, not like murder can happen to anybody, like not everybody's gonna like be a murderer, but I'm saying, the boat accident, all of those things could have happened, or just so many things could have happened. It just was scary, but it was very good. It's on Hulu or Netflix.
what is it called?
The Murdoch Murders Part 1
Okay,
and 2. It's a Lifetime movies. They did a very good job. Very, very good job
nice,
showing the reality
nice.
of what he was, and then showing how the power and everything and all of the addiction to all of it. It was just in the progression. It was very good to learn, to watch, to see
Mm,
how it takes over, you know?
nice, nice. Now, I just want to comment that Jake Lloyd said that Mitch is not a fan of psychodrama. Noted, which is a funny comment. It's actually not true, but I get why he said that because of my comment about Requiem for a Dream. No, I like a good psychodrama, but that one was just a little too disturbing. And plus, I really felt that what's her name, Jennifer She was in the last Top Gun. The brunette, Jennifer. I can't think of her name.
I would never watch that movie.
Yeah, I know you wouldn't, but it's a reference for people.
Fucking with you.
Yeah, she was. I thought she and the other female, another female actress. I thought they Connolly. Thank you, Ivor. Yeah, Jennifer Connelly. I thought they were kind of sexually exploited in the film because there were some like pornographic scenes of them that I thought were utterly unnecessary to be that graphic. I thought they kind of shot you out of the film, like they put your attention on other things, and I didn't like that. I thought that was like, I couldn't imagine what the atmosphere on the set was like.
I have another film that really I'm okay. So personally, I was drawn to that heroin chic lifestyle, like in the beginning of in like
Right.
well, not in the beginning, but later on. But in the beginning, it was more like the alcohol, like partying, socialite kind of thing,
Right.
and
Right.
money, and like I romanticized that lifestyle, and it never did
Right.
happen, right? But The Wolf of Wall Street, I watched that the other day again, and I watched it. I've watched it twice, but really, I pay attention. Like I see it when I'm like really paying attention, and I see like it's like I just see so much of myself, and like the progression, and like what he was doing. It was so real. Like he acted so real to how I would assume it would be, that it creeped me out. You know,
Yeah. No. I know that was. Yeah, it
the
was
money
good.
and the power, and
Definitely good. Well, you mentioned heroin chic.
yeah,
And I'd meant to bring that up because that was this thing that happened in the 90s. I mean, Amy Winehouse was a little bit of part of that heroin
was
chic thing. And if you go back and you look like in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s,
uh-huh.
you'll find like fashion magazines and where it's like all of a sudden like models look like they were on heroin. They
Yep.
were really skinny, they put dark shadows. It was literally a thing. This
Mhm.
heroin chic thing. It became like actually part of the culture. I mean, we actually have the phrase. Yeah, it's very weird. It's just like, I mean, I used to, I'll probably never say this again, but I'm like, when I got into Scientology, I was 127 pounds, right? I mean, I don't, like I was, 6 foot tall and 127 pounds. I was really emaciated. And I used to say, yeah, well, I was on the Amy Winehouse diet. So, because, but yeah, so it was that thing. Like, it's a great way to lose weight, right? Heroin's a great way to lose weight. So I don't know if anybody ever adopted the chic literally, but I think some people may have, because it was kind of, it got romanticized. Somehow heroin
The
got
party
romanticized.
style, the rock style, I think.
Yeah, something.
That's what I think it was
Something.
for me. It was
Yeah.
like, it's like the no work, the party, the everything is beautiful, and
Right.
this
Right.
fake world, and it's not like that. And I had to convince myself it's not like that when I got sober, and it was never going to be like that for me.
Right. It's not that way for anybody. There is a period. I mean, I can remember there is this period where you can feel ultra special because you're one of the kind of you're one of the sort of fringe people, the people that are really living on the edge, and that makes you so cool.
Right.
But then you're chasing a habit, and there's nothing cool about it. It's the lamest, dumbest, most ridiculous thing, and you wonder, how did I get here? So I'm sure that that's happened to a few people on the, shall we say, the heroin chic spectrum. So
I'd say.
yeah,
Did anybody, let's see if there's any questions that want to be answered.
sure.
Is there anything extra that you wanted to talk about before we get to the questions?
Oh, well, this is actually an interesting comment. Wag Staff 613. Hell, heroin chic in 1969. Yeah. 100%.
Oh my God. I thought
No, you're so right. You're so right.
Warhol.
That was actually the first iteration. The 90s one was a rehash. No, you're right. When I was in high school, we had, Lou Reed, I'm Waiting for My Man. Remember that great song? I'm Waiting for My Man and Walking the Wild Side.
I've heard of it.
They were totally heroin chic songs.
Oh my god!
And,
I just
yeah,
remember I thought Warhol whenever Warhol.
Warhol.
You know, I have a picture I posted the other day of a wax museum, and there's a whole bunch of the, what is it called, Bristol? What is that shit called that you clean your dishes with? That he had in his
Brillo, yeah, the Brillo boxes, yeah,
crack. That's
yeah.
for crack. And like, I don't know if everybody knows that or not.
Is what? That
You use
what?
Bristol to smoke crack.
Really? Brillo pads?
Yeah. Yes, you put it in your pipe.
I had no idea. I think that's just a coincidence. Andy wasn't. He
I don't
wasn't
know,
a big.
but that shit.
There were a lot of drug users around Andy, but Andy wasn't a big drug user at all.
He wasn't. No, and I was like, that was weird. It's like just packed with Brillo, and I said that to my mom one day. She's like, "Really, Lindsay? I don't want to hear about that." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm just telling you a fact."
Right.
We would buy Brillo or whatever, and you put it in your
right.
crack.
Right.
Sorry, I shouldn't.
Yeah, Velvet Underground. Nico was it was Velvet Underground with Nico. Nico was a total heroin addict. And there was a few others.
What's that? Does he live in LA and friends with Ozzy?
Who? Andy?
Whoever the Velvet Underground.
Lou Reed?
I don't know.
Well, I know Lou Reed. I think he was.
There was
part of the Ziggy Pop crowd, because Ziggy Pop was also a heroin addict at that time.
I can't say it anyways because it would be anonymous.
Yeah, and then I'm trying to think who else. Marianne Faithfull was a similar time. Who, Mick Jagger's girlfriend was. She was a heroin addict.
Weren't they back then too?
Sorry,
weren't a lot of them heroin addicts back then?
I don't know. I think there were probably more than we know. But what's the song "Wild Horses"?
Yeah,
the song that Mick Jagger, he wrote that song for Marianne Faithfull because she almost died of an overdose, and he was at her bedside, and he wrote the song "Wild Horses Couldn't Tear Me Away," and the story is that he meant "tear me away from your bedside." Wow. That's rock and roll. If it was a country western song, he would have told the whole story. You did some smack and you fucked yourself up, and now you're in bed. But in rock and roll, they just kind of like, they're subtle. Wild Horses Couldn't Tear Me Away. So, but anyway, that was I guess you could say that's a heroin chic song.
I didn't even know that. Yeah, Kate Moss totally feels that too.
Yeah, and John Lennon and Yoko in their heroin phase. I didn't realize they had a heroin phase.
I better not say anything. I
don't know about that. Is that true?
I don't like the Beatles. I never liked the Beatles.
Okay.
I'm like the only one in the world.
Yeah, you probably never saw E.T. and don't like Star Wars. I mean, I don't know.
No, I liked E.T., but I hate Star Wars. I had to watch when I was younger, but I don't like sci-fi and stuff.
Yeah, okay.
I like horror movies.
Oh, yeah. So Jake Lloyd says, yep, in 1969, when John had the huge bushy beard, he was in his heroin period. I'm sorry to hear that.
When did he die? 70?
No, it was in the 80s. I think it was maybe 80. Yeah, it was 83, maybe. Because I know I was in I remember I went to New York for Thanksgiving. I got on a plane in 1980. I went to New York for Thanksgiving. I got on a plane at like 6:00 at night, late afternoon in Manhattan. I got on a plane in New York. I flew to LA, and when I got off the plane in LA, everybody was glued to all the TV sets. While we were in flight from New York, John Lennon had been killed. It was the freakiest thing. He was alive when we took off and dead when we landed, and that was it's like the way that I remember his death was that it happened sometime during an air flight. So
wow. I want to say a couple more things too. The movie Flight with Denzel Washington.
Oh yeah, there's another one. Yeah, that's yeah.
Yeah. That shows the real depiction of him being locked up in a hotel room to be sober, and he couldn't do it.
Right, and the denial.
Yes.
There's like this level of denial because he has to push on because he's got this job and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a good film. That was maybe an exception to the sympathetic addiction character. It seems like we're leaning more into drug films are like Sicario. They're the big crime films.
Oh, You know what else I watched recently too? The one with Ashton's wife.
Oh,
That
Mila?
was good.
Mila?
Yeah. 3 More Days or something.
No, I don't know that one.
Freaked me out because that was like me too. The way that she was with her mom, and her mom was hold on, I want to. It's really worth watching.
She
She looks
was
like a real
alcohol or drugs? Oh, what was it? Addiction movie. It's 4 Good Days.
4 Good Days. Look at her.
Yeah,
Can I show the preview?
absolutely. You want to show the trailer? Do it. Let's look at it.
Because it's just wild to me. Hold on, let me see if this is the right one. Let me start it from the beginning. It's just stuff that like I did a lot of this same stuff
Right.
in my addiction, and it's just really I'm glad more are made like this is what I'm saying, like that you see.
Yeah, I
Even
mean, I think some of
film,
some of these films they can influence people to not want to take drugs or to get help.
yeah, there's so many different, I think it's like different, like people are starting to take different approaches, I guess, to,
Yeah.
but there's always going to be glamorized because I mean,
Yeah, I mean, to some degree, but I think there's less so. I think that the tendency is to be more sympathetic because we live in a culture today which is recognizing the validity of victims.
exactly. Okay, ready?
Yeah, I'm watching. We got sound. The sound's off.
That's why it's so hard for me to answer those questions.
Yeah, no, my parents, not that
They
you
don't know
asked,
what,
but
they don't know
yeah,
what
no,
to
I mean,
do too. It's like, and they want to believe us, but you know.
yeah, it's tough. It's really tough on families. People don't believe it.
Mm. More so than the addict too sometimes. Well, just as much as the addict, I'd say too.
Yeah. And I guess the ultimate heroin chic character is Keith Richards because he's like,
Is he like, when did he get sober?
oh, he got sober a while ago. I don't know when, but
Oh,
you know, he has so much money and so much privilege that he was sort of, from what I'd heard, would famously go to these like clinics in Switzerland, right, to detox, and they would like switch his blood out, literally. They
Jesus
would drain his blood and like literally give him a full body transfusion.
Christ.
Yeah, because apparently that this can help speech or recover, whatever. I don't know. Maybe it's just something that wealthy people get bilked for. I don't know, but I think he's been sober for a while. So
There's a thing where you can do fast track detox where you're sleeping, and like if you watch it in fast motion, it's like a day or two if you coming off of, it's rapid opiate detox.
yeah,
And the thing is, if you don't follow it with treatment,
yeah, no, yeah, you have to do the work.
yeah,
Getting off drugs is not hard. It's not that difficult.
Okay.
I never thought heroin was difficult to get off of.
I thought alcohol was worse to get
Oh,
off
I'm
of.
sure everything's worse than heroin. It's 3-4 days of a bad flu, but then you're faced with all the reasons why you did it to begin with, and that can take you years to process. And you have to do that work. And the thing is, you will end up better than the Joe normal public because you will have done so much work in terms of figuring out who you are that you actually. I know so many ex-addicts who end up being these kind of enlightened spiritual people because they did the work.
Because you discover that there's an issue, and that a lot of people that don't have, in my opinion, a lot of people that don't have the struggles like a significant drug battle or any other like food addiction, any kind of addiction,
Right.
you know, you have to learn those coping skills, those new coping skills. You have to learn to retrain your brain. You have to really dedicate yourself.
It takes a lot of discipline to do that work. And it's really easy to look out into the world and find reasons why we have problems. It's really hard to look at yourself and figure out why you have problems. I mean, there's so many external causes that you can just blame endlessly. So, and it's confusing. It can be it's a maze, that, because you can end up over blaming yourself because there are really, you could unfortunately be in Scientology and you're going to blame yourself for everything. And you know what? You're not responsible for everything. Shit does happen to you. And it doesn't mean that you don't need to do something about it and hold yourself accountable, but there's things that aren't your fault. So.
That's kind of what I've been talking about. I don't think it was you that I was talking to when I was in AA about do you have to get going?
No, no,
Oh, just making sure.
I'm
When I
good.
was in AA, it was sometimes like what was your part could be difficult for a lot of people because if you had a sponsor that was doing that with you and they sitting there and said, well, I don't know, not realistic.
Right.
You could say anything. And I don't like trauma being opened up by people that don't know how to deal with it. I think it's very
Right.
dangerous. But there was something I was going to say to go off of what you just said, and I forgot.
I think I mind wiped too.
No, my brain goes fuzzy when I get tired.
Oh yeah, it's late. It's later for you there.
It's okay. It's only 9:00.
Hey, we didn't say Happy Memorial Day to everybody.
Stop.
I know we forgot to mention. Thank you all for taking a break from your barbecue or whatever the hell else you're doing.
Yeah.
To come and hang out with us. It's really fun.
Yeah, and I just want to say, it's not Veterans Day, my friends. It's Memorial Day.
Yeah,
and
it's Memorial Day.
And what does Memorial Day mean? It's to honor those that have fallen. I know not everybody here is from America, but land of the free, and freedom is not free. And so, having worked with veterans for years with PTSD and mental health and substance abuse, I have great respect and have seen them struggle every Memorial Day for years. When we would have groups and them talking about their fallen
Right.
friends and teammates and everything. And so
Right.
I'm glad that you brought that up because we forget about it. We live our lives, a lot of us, and just everything is so we bitch about everything under the sun, but it's like we're so lucky to be free where we can, I don't have to worry about the government coming and taking my house or like,
Right.
it's we're pretty
Yeah, there's
lucky.
there's a lot to be thankful for.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the people who gave their lives, we need to honor them is all.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. We need to honor them by living the best lives we can because they sacrificed theirs so that we could.
And not try to.
Yeah. So, don't be an asshole in traffic.
I can't.
Don't be honking at what you can't.
I can't help it.
That's okay. We'll work on that. But that's not the worst thing in the world.
Some people relapse in and out of rehab. Yeah. Oh, wait, did I miss something? Oh, you guys were talking about the celebrities? They also tend to have been through humbling crap that I don't know. I'm so confused. Oh, A Star Is Born. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, that wasn't originally. That wasn't originally. It didn't have an alcohol component. I don't think the first two they made, because that was the third time they made it. I don't know that had an addiction component originally. I don't think the original one did with James Mason. I'll have to figure that out. And
never watched.
The second one was with Chris Christopherson and Barbara Streisand. A rather odd pairing, but they pulled it off. So,
what I really want to commend is I've been talking more and more to people that are doing advocacy on the street, their own kind of little documentaries. I'm not talking about protesting. I'm talking about like Kevin Dahlgren and Kate Monroe I had on the other day, and another
she was great.
Talk to. Yeah,
she was fantastic.
Totally, just they're really actually out there trying to stop the flow of drugs coming in and real things that we don't have to be an imaginary land about.
Right.
We really need to it's our kids. This is scary for me. I have a 7-year-old,
right.
And so this shit is serious, and I'm trying to make myself more useful in more ways than I am now. And so that's what a lot of what I've been thinking about is how can I do that? And like, for instance, us doing this and just talking talking to other people about drug addiction and what they're struggling with, and then talking about how it's portrayed in the movies, and it's not real. It's not like that most of the time. I mean, and if it is like that, you always see the downfall, right?
Right.
You never see an incline with drug use or alcohol use. Have you ever seen it? Anybody? No. And I don't really, I made this comment on X one day and I got attacked. I said, I don't really see old junkies.
No, no, you don't. You know, you see pictures of these Chinese opium dens, and you have all these
Right.
people, and they all look 100. I think they're actually just 35, and that's what the opium does to them. No, but I think it's a lifestyle that kills junkies. I don't think it's the drug, because you get bloodborne diseases, you get robbed, you get all kinds of crazy stuff, and it's the lifestyle. I mean, I read a report once that like physicians who become addicted to opiates, like morphine and like intravenous addicts, they live to be a long time because their lifestyle is okay. They're not under the pressures.
So I worked at a rehab in Tampa.
Yeah.
And it's called, well, I shouldn't even say it, but it was specifically, there was like one little young people's program, but the majority of people there were for nurses and doctors that had threatened to have their license taken away. Yeah. And so they had which they should have, very strict things they had to do. Like drug testing their hair all the time, and like, so many drug tests. I had to be on their ass. I had to be really, really tight with them. And you made one mistake, done.
Yeah, people don't realize how much drug abuse there is amongst physicians and nurses.
A lot.
Yeah, I was reading a thing.
Yeah,
they have these really long shifts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they'll be in 3 days a week or whatever. They have to work 24 hours, and then they get an hour or two off to take a nap. They'll go and they'll shoot propofol. Like that's a really common abuse of propofol, is physicians will shoot it up because boom, they'll be dead asleep for 2 hours, and then they wake up and they go back to work. So
I can't say I blame them either, because I mean, just for me, working a normal job was like, I'm not justifying, I'm just saying, like, my drug addict mind would be like, of course I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. No,
I have to be able to work.
Yeah, that's what they made coffee for. I'm sorry, but that's
exactly.
Just load up on coffee. Okay, cool. Well, we don't have any questions. I think we should do some. We've been an hour. Mm-hmm. We should probably bring this to a controlled landing.
Okay.
We should do some housekeeping. Anything you want to announce? Anything like, please subscribe to Lindsay's channel. Yes, please hit the notification bell so you'll know when we'll be doing this again. And if you choose to do that on my channel, I forgot to tell people you should watch this on my channel as well. But if you do subscribe, I really appreciate it. I'm not even asking you to. I'm just saying thank you if you do. We'd like to do a lot more content like this. We're over here. There's other people over there. They're doing their thing. We're doing our thing. I'm not going to say anything else.
No, there is one thing I want to talk about next time, if you're comfortable with, that I was just thinking about.
Sure.
But since we don't have time now, I wanted to talk about more about the drug use if you're comfortable, in Scientology, about how it was viewed in the cult, and how, because I know a little bit about it, but maybe something along those lines. I'm curious more about that. Maybe we could talk.
Oh yeah, we could definitely talk about that. I mean, one of the things Ivor Metkin says, good to see Mitch. Yeah, good to see you too, Ivor. I appreciate that very much. Here's an interesting thing, because I worked at the international base up at Golden Era Productions, and they kind of feel very privileged that they don't have to follow the same rules, right?
Right.
So I got to tell you, there were times when I was not doing well and I couldn't sleep. I got more drugs from those people. I am not kidding you. I got benzodiazepines. I got
Hell yeah.
I got Ambien. I got all kinds of drugs from the Scientology medical person at Golden Era Productions because they were trying to get me to sleep so I could go in session. It was really bad. I mean, it was really bad for my mental health. And so these people are, they're just, Scientology is a bottomless pit of hypocrisy. And one of the things they will do, depending on who you are and your privilege and how much they need you to work, they don't care if you're taking drugs.
No,
So,
I wouldn't think so.
and so hold on one thing. Well, Lisa DeWitt asked, Mitch, are you going to do an audio version of your book? Yeah, my book is 26 chapters. I've completed 12 chapters of the audio book. And I'm trying to get it done as quickly as I can. So
he has been every day. He's been working.
Yeah, well, not every day, but
well, you've been pretty much almost.
Yeah, I have. That's why I haven't been on YouTube very much. And I've been also doing some editing for a project that I'm working on. So I haven't had a lot of time to also, but I've been doing both. But thanks, Lisa. I'll get it out as soon as I can. And you know what? If for some reason you're strapped for cash and you can't afford it, I will give it to you because I so want. I can't tell you how many copies of, like I send out free Kindles all the time.
You do?
People will write to me and they'll say, hey, I'm on disability or whatever, and I really want to read your book. So I want you to know I'm going to read it as soon as, my next check comes in or something. And I'm like, give me your email address. And I send them a free Kindle. I'm like, I don't want to hear it because it's just like, it's because people, if they can afford it, they'll gladly buy it. And if they can't, I'd rather that they read it because I think it's a really helpful book. And I get really great here. I'll show you something. I got this. Where was this? I want to read you something I got today from somebody.
Okay, and then I'm going to ask a question after.
Yeah, okay. I just have to find this. It was thanks for the link to your book, Mitch. Wow. I meant to read a couple of pages. This person just read, there's a couple of chapters, samples on Amazon. I meant to read a couple of pages, but it drew me in and I stopped when you entered the lobby of Scientology. You're a very gifted writer. My life has been very tame compared to yours. Interesting, rewarding, but tame. And so I get like notes like this from people all the time. And it's really fulfilling to do because I was just trying to tell my story. So anyway, now we're all just going to be falling down, having to
if you're a gifted writer, then there's so much more I could bug you with.
Yeah, well, I had written for decades before I wrote that book. I'd written tons of stuff for film, myself, Scientology. So I didn't sort of, I wrote it anyway. The other thing that I did, if I can say this.
Say whatever you want.
Well, it was, thank you. It was, that's my people-pleasing thing. Is it okay if I talk? That's just.
No, don't ever ask.
I know. I'm working through it. No, but one of the things that, because I had done really so much of my best work for Scientology and I needed to do something about that, I had to make sure that book was the best thing that I ever did because it was just for myself. And so if I make $10 selling a book, I look at that and I'm like, that's the most honest $10 I ever made.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that means so much more than making however much money I made, helping to teach, Scientology auditors and all that kind of crazy stuff and the PR and making the enemies look bad and whatever. It's just all that stuff that I did.
But you were still a victim with that, and you do take.
I thought I was doing the right thing. I mean, nobody is like Mark Vincente from from that horrible cult, Keith Raniere from what's it called? I forget. NXIVM. Yeah. So Mark Vincente, who's a guy that I have a lot of respect for. He said, nobody, maybe he didn't make this up, but I've heard it from Mark first. He said, nobody joins a cult. They join something good and then they find out they were fucked over. Yes. And so that's basically the bottom line.
Yeah. Why would you? It doesn't make sense. Why would you join something that you?
No. I mean, there are some really sociopathic people that join cults on purpose because they're just nasty people. They're like toxic lovers. They're like toxic partners that specifically go out and target people because they want to abuse them. They don't even know they're doing it. One of the first books I read, and we can talk about this. This is another, we can put a pin in this one too. One of the first books I read was called Take Back Your Life, Surviving Cults and Abusive Relationships. And I was like, what? Like, how are both these things in the same sentence? And it was through, because I didn't understand it. And I had just gone through a very abusive relationship with somebody who was very emotionally disfigured. And it was them through trying to research what happened to me in that relationship that I discovered I was even in a cult. I didn't know. I didn't know Scientology was a cult. I knew that it was
Start
fucked
over
up.
here.
What's that?
Sorry. Start over real quick. I
Yeah.
didn't interrupt you because I'm amazed. You're saying
Yeah.
you read this book. What is it called?
The
Taking
book
Back.
is called Take Back Your Life: Surviving Cults and Abusive Relationships.
And so you got it because of the abusive relationship. Because
Right.
you had an abusive relationship right after you got out of the cult, which was not
Right.
many years ago, right?
No,
Too
no,
long
because
ago.
no, I really left in 2021.
Okay, so then after that you were in a relationship and you're like, damn, this is a fucked up relationship.
Well, it was in 20. Yeah, it was very painful. It was not. It
I
didn't
know what
appear. Yeah, and and I'm not saying that I didn't have anything to do with it
doesn't
because
matter.
yeah, but I'm not saying that I was like a completely. But I there's a thing. I think you know what it is. Reactive abuse. You've heard
Yeah,
of that.
of course.
Yeah, it's
The
reactive
thing
abuse is when a person gets you so triggered and so riled up that you lose your shit
on purpose.
and then you become the guilty party. And I'm not saying that I wasn't guilty of some reactive abuse, but it was like verbal and emotional or whatever. But
Of course.
my point is, and the real takeaway here, that's how I found out that I was in a cult because I didn't
That's
think
what
of
I was
Scientology.
trying to get you to
I
say.
didn't think of Scientology as a cult. I
That's
knew
what I'm
it was fucked up, but it was just you're so indoctrinated. Everything else is a cult.
Tell me, I need to know about this real quick before we leave. I'm sorry.
About what? The book?
I just want to know. I want to know how that happened. Like, that's amazing to me.
What?
Like, so
Which
when you
part
read
of
the
it?
book- So when did you start realizing it was a cult? Like
When I had a very quick, yeah, it's called Take Back Your Life:
when you
Recovering
read
from
it?
Cults yeah, well, here's the thing. I read most of it because it's the cult part of it was more aimed at people who were like Sea Org members, people who were deeply embedded, and I wasn't. So I kind of read it until the point where, okay, I get it. And then I read some other books. I read The Sociopath Next Door.
Yes.
I read, books about for men surviving narcissistic relationships. Because I had been in this relationship with somebody who was kind of expressing borderline personality traits because they within a period of a couple of hours they decide you're the worst person in the world, and you get blocked and it's just horrible. And then eventually they show up and they try to be your friend again from a distance to kind of assuage their guilt, their shame, because they can't. Yeah, they can't handle the shame. So yeah, that's how I found out that, and I it's like I never realized like Steve Canan's the bite model, right? The behavior control. You know about that, right? The bite model.
Yeah, but I keep hearing weird things about it.
No, it's I don't know what's weird. There's nothing weird about it. I mean,
people saying that it's bullshit and that it's
no,
not.
it's not bullshit. It literally is not bullshit at all.
I have no idea what it is.
Well, Steve Canan was he's a PhD psychologist, and
look it up.
he did the bite model as part of his PhD. He was indoctrinated. He was recruited into the Moonies by two beautiful young women when he was in college. So he was a Moonie for years. He escaped that cult, and then he became a PhD psychologist, and he created the bite model, which is essentially
Steve Hassan. I know who he is. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, Steve Hassan. I said Canaan, but that's a different person. Yeah, I fucked that up. Yeah, Steve Hassan. Yeah, he's and so the bite model. I mean, everybody knows what it's the model of authoritarian control, and it is the four elements of any high control authoritarian group. It's manipulative behavior control. There's information control. There's thought control and emotion control. And Scientology has all of these, and I never thought about it. I thought, no, we were on a mission to save the world, and that's how we needed to do it. No, that's bullshit. It was completely the bite model. Like if anybody thinks they're in an abusive relationship or a cult, they need to at least read enough about the bite model and say, is this what I'm into? Is this what's happening to me? And it's very helpful. So yeah, it was weird. I always sort of credit that person. Like, thank you for coming along and being like doing your thing. And they could be great now. I don't know. Maybe this was just
that's amazing though.
Maybe it was the way we interacted together. I don't freaking know, but it wasn't my idea. I was drawn into it. Blah blah blah. It was very kind of narcissistic, borderline, kind of very. It was strange. I didn't know people like that existed. I didn't know those kinds of mental things existed because I'd been in a cult. So I was utterly, and you become very you become very codependent when you're in a cult. You also, I mean, I originally had a kind of an avoidant attachment style,
Really?
meaning, yeah, I mean, when I was younger, like I bailed on 2 engagements, it's like, really like bad, like avoidant stuff. But after years of Scientology, the way they attach they get you to attach to the group, you become a very anxious attached person because you're like, am I okay? Am I in good standing? Am I in trouble?
Do that even. My
Yeah,
jobs did that.
yeah, can you give me some reassurance that I'm like okay? Like that's all anxious bullshit. So that's yeah,
Wow.
Stephen Hassan. Yeah, thank you for that. Ivor Mickett is like he's my dude. I don't know
I know.
what he's like. This guy's my what do they call it in Scientology? The analytical mind. Ivermectin's my analytical mind. Who's I just throw or my file clerk. There's a thing in Dianetics called a file clerk, which throws all the information at you when you ask a question like, "Where was I in July?" Your file clerk throws you.
I remember
So
that the cult of Trump that he wrote that. I thought that was weird.
who-
That
the-
to involve political mixed with.
yeah, but it is, he has run his politics like a cult in that there
I
is,
get what you're saying.
yeah. So it's like he's used those techniques. But we're not going to get into the whole political thing.
No, I know. I just thought it was interesting to see like cult, but then I don't know. I just thought it was
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. You and I don't agree on politics, but we have so much we agree on.
Yes,
It's not
we
even worth
do.
talking about.
Well,
Yeah, we
yes,
do most things we do.
we just
Something,
fight about everything.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're like an old married couple. We
I
fight
know.
about everything and we never have sex. So, so
You're funny as
in
fuck.
case anybody was wondering.
Yeah, I
So,
know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
So
there you go. So we touched on the subject of relational abuse, and that is something that we were going to spend more time on
we're
as
going to next
yeah,
time.
as time goes by, because it's a fascinating subject. And again, it was also uh what's his name? I can't remember. I'm like, my brain is now, I'm tired.
I know.
A cult and a abusive relationship, it's just a matter of scale. If you take an abusive relationship and you take 2 people and then you scale it up to 20,000, it's no different. The dynamics are all the same. Okay, here's something a lot of people don't know. The term love bombing,
Yeah.
everybody knows this term, and everybody associates it with narcissism. Although there's other people that love bomb. People with ADHD will hyper focus and love bomb. People
Yeah.
with borderline will love bomb. I mean, there's a lot of different. It's this kind of heightened expectation and idealization, which is not a healthy way to attach to somebody. And that term love bombing was coined to describe the way the Moonies recruit people. It came from a cult.
What?
It didn't come from behavioral psychology or pop psychology. We all think like, oh no, love bombing. That's what no, that's what cults do. Cults love bomb. That is
Which is
weird.
the same thing, right?
Yeah, that's where the term comes from.
I
Yeah.
mean,
So it's the
wow.
same human dynamics. It's the same level of vulnerability, of idealism, of
Editorial.
wanting to help someone else. I mean, I was in such bad shape when I got out of Scientology. I had no idea. I actually thought, Lindsay, this is going to blow your mind.
Wow.
I actually thought changing my boundaries was an act of kindness. Changing them for another person was like a good thing to do to develop a relationship. Okay. You do not change your boundaries to have a good relationship. If you do that, you will become codependent.
Do they teach you that in
No, I
Scientology?
figured that out on my own through therapy and various other things.
No, but is that how they kind of teach you, like that you change your boundaries to fit the
No,
other?
no. It was just
Oh,
how you just end up that way. Somebody
wow.
says, you know what? I don't want to be, I don't want to have, like, here's an example. Somebody says, I don't want to practice monogamy anymore in a relationship because I need to have sex with a lot of different partners just for my own mental health. Some crazy bad shit stuff like that, right? And so you're thinking, well, I don't really identify that way, but maybe that's my problem. That's a me problem, and I should change my boundaries. And where
Right.
are you? You're fucked. You've just become codependent. You've become So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying I was in such,
Very
I was so unequipped.
been there.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? So I was so
exactly
unequipped.
there.
Yeah, exactly. Like, no, you're doing the right thing. I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah, it's like this, but yep. It's like, oh,
And
you're
the person is like, oh, I love you for that you were willing to do that. You are my main guy.
or
Meanwhile,
even
I'm
just
gonna
like
go
saying,
have sex
yeah, this is normal. This is normal. You should like. How could you even have a
yeah.
with this?
Yeah,
Like,
enough with the toxic monogamy already. What the hell is this?
my
Yeah.
lifestyle is this and this, bitch.
Yeah,
Don't
so I mean, my life has changed a little. Like, I don't. If I have a boundary, it doesn't change for anybody, because the boundaries aren't for them. They're for me. They're what I need.
right.
Yeah, they're what I need for, not just to protect my mental health, but they're what you need to protect your relationship with yourself. So Lisa DeWitt made a very interesting comment. She said addiction is like an abusive relationship.
Yep.
It very much is. It's a very like the relationship you have with your drug of choice. I was with one of those people that I had one drug. I didn't like. I'd rather be sick than take other drugs. But yeah, it's definitely like an abusive relationship, because it's just like, yeah, because it's always going to hug you and embrace you when it cares to, and make you feel great, and then it's just going to fuck you over. So it's just
Yeah,
like
basically it.
totally abusive.
That's what it is.
Anyway, yeah. So okay. So what else? We were doing some housekeeping. We're both very appreciative. Hitting the notification bell, subscribing, giving us a like. We're very appreciative. Also, yes, and sharing, and we have, tell your friends about it, because we're going to do some great content. I mean, the reason yeah. What's that?
To help people, like the
Yeah,
whole
we're gonna, yeah, and also just to entertain the fuck out of them. But I think we have some great stories to tell, and I think the thing that maybe people don't know, Lindsay, is that one of the reasons that we became friends was obviously we bonded on being, having been drug addicts at one point, but both of us got off of drugs when we were 23.
that's
So
so
off of heroin, yeah, like we both got off at the same age. So even though I was 23 when Lindsay's mom was 23, so it was at a very different time period.
that's wild.
But yeah, that was crazy. And I spent a few nights in jail, but I never went to prison. I really came close. I came close to doing 18 months on a civil commitment in a junkie prison. And I think I told you that story. It was just horrible. Fucking, so anyway.
I love when people try to say, like, talk shit about it. I'm like, yeah, I'm cool. And they're like,
Yeah,
what?
it's like, whatever.
I'm like, fuck off.
Yeah, exactly.
Not
Exactly.
hurting my feelings.
Yeah, exactly.
I can whoop your ass.
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
over.
Exactly.
Kidding,
Exactly.
but not kidding at all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, kidding,
well,
not kidding.
I
Yeah,
love you.
okay.
And
So go ahead. I'm sorry.
we're gonna plan something for next week.
Yeah, we have some other things to talk about. Also, I have you can buy my book
Yes.
on Amazon or B. Dalton or wherever fine books are sold. I don't know that it's in the bookstores, but you can order it. So if you're walking by a B. Dalton, do me a favor. I'm sorry, not a B. Dalton, a Barnes and Noble. If you're walking by one, there's one in your neighborhood. Go in there and ask them for the book. They'll order a copy. It's in their computer. You'll get the retail copy, which is like,
Really?
yeah, it's like a dust jacket and a printed jacket, and it's like the one they'll put in libraries and bookstores. Or you could get the one from Amazon, which is also a nice looking book. Or you could buy it from me from mitchbrisker.com, and I'll send you an autographed one. There's a little fee for that, but you can order it. So I think it's like $60.
Toddy.
It's Toddy Skip.
Yeah, we're about to get off.
Are you guys buds? Are you and Toddy? I've watched some of his stuff. I don't know him.
I would love Toddy to get on here with me one day. That would be so fucking cool.
Yeah, cool. So then there's that. There's on my I have a link tree on my channel. You can buy me a coffee. I've got a PayPal address where you can donate directly to help do this work. And you help either one of us or both of us. You're helping us to do this work. We're going to be doing a lot of collaboration together. We're going to be trying to lean into some really good stuff because we both have, I think, very unique and special backgrounds that
Yeah.
will result in some good collaborations. And we're also going to be bringing on some interesting guests, which we talked
Yes.
about. Yeah, and talking to people. So
Don't
uh,
even. We're not giving any hints because it's
nope,
gonna.
no
fuck you
spoilers
guys.
here. No spoilers.
Yeah, I
Okay,
can't even
okay.
go there.
Nope.
Well, we love you guys.
Yeah, really. And thank you so much for sticking around. This was so much fun, and for sharing your Memorial Day with us.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice. Really
Remember,
nice.
we remember those that sacrifice for our freedom.
Yeah.
And you guys have a good night, seriously.
Yeah.
And we'll talk later.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Mwah.